What is going on, everybody? It's the Daily Fantasy Show brought to you by DFO. I am Josh. It is Tuesday, November 14th. We have an 8-game slate tonight. Big $8 on DraftKings called the Dangle. FanDuel has a big $7 tournament as well. Pretty interesting slate tonight. Let me load up my info. Otherwise, this is going to get weird. Okay. So while that loads, anyone win big on Saturday? All right, the slate was canceled. How about that disaster? And of course, Aaron Dell had a 41 save shutout. How ridiculous was that? So this is not helping. Okay. Yeah, hopefully if you guys put on FanDuel, you use Dell. If you had the perfect lineup, you should have screenshot it and email it to DK and be like, yo, I hit the nuts. I don't want these stupid ass free rolls. I want my money. But anyway, let's get to the slate here. First game of the night, we have the Buffalo Sabres traveling to Pittsburgh to face the Penguins. So, interesting note. You can also read about it in the line matching article that Adam does, so I won't get heavily into it. Yeah, I play NBA and I get it. So no, this is why they did NBA free rolls, because it's bigger. The prize pools are bigger than NHL, so you get all these hockey guys to play NBA. Then you just don't want to play a free roll, so you enter other contests. They make more money. It's a business thing. So anyway, in AD's line matching article, yes, like me and Adam, we completely wasted our money yesterday. Good times. Anyway, quick note, Riley Sheehan going against Pitt's top line, which means Evgeny Malkin's line is going to see bottom six action from the Sabres, which is absolutely horrifying. So if I'm going to use Pittsburgh tonight, which I never do, but they're definitely viable in cash and GPP, it's going to be the Malkin line. Sidney Crosby is due to break out at some point. You know, he's not going to go quietly into the night for the rest of the season. So you can definitely, you definitely can use the Crosby line. Did you? I keep laughing, but did you guys know if you cut something out of text, it still pastes? I did not know that. I got so tilted this morning when I was writing that article. But anyway, ignore me. Malkin line definitely is the play for me if you're using Pittsburgh. Letang is pricey, $6,100 for the production. I'm not sure I want to go there. I mean, you definitely can if you have the salary. I prefer using Justin Schultz at $3,600. It frees up some salary to get in some more expensive pieces. He has power play time, and he's still really cheap. In net, I kind of like Matt Murray tonight. You know, Buffalo hasn't been very good at all. The problem is he's 8,000 on DraftKings, and there are some cheaper goalies that I like tonight, and you know, if you want, you know, using an $8,000 goalie in cash is fine, but in GPP I don't like using it just because the value really isn't there if they give up one goal. So If you're using Pittsburgh, you can use Matt Murray. I don't think 8,000 is like outrageous. Would you fade? Yeah, because he's not on the power play, which is annoying. Pittsburgh's one of those teams that their power play is over 3 even strength lines. If I'm going to use Pittsburgh and cash, I definitely want some guys who have exposure to the power play. But Matt Murray and GPP, I'll probably pass unless I'm using Pittsburgh. It's a good matchup, but again, who's your favorite footballer? I don't know. He's on power play too. Yeah, then I guess you can make a case for Gensel, but I would prefer, let me see. I'd rather spend the extra 500 for Hornquist and cash, even though he's on the third line, which is kind of annoying. Or is he? Did they mix up their lines again? Kessel, lock and cash. I don't know if he's a lock, but 6,900 is a tad pricey. But if anybody from the Pittsburgh Penguins, I'm going to use in cash. I'm going to go Malkin, then Kessel, then Schultz, then Letang. Yeah, Hornquist is on the third line. I know I've had it's Sheary. I always get Sheary and Gensel confused. Sorry. It's been a weird couple days for me. I need to lock it up. Lock it up, Rook. All right, so let's move on to Buffalo. I do like their top line tonight, but again, it's more of a GPP play for me. Eichel and Kane, they're both 7,000. It's a little pricey in cash. I think there's way better options there, but definitely can use them in GPP. They're with, am I reading that right? They're with Reinhardt, right? That bumps up Reinhardt. 3,700 is good value. Yeah. I love Reinhardt when he's with Eichel. Yeah, Palmer got moved down. Reinhardt with Eichel definitely is my favorite Reinhardt. So, that bumps up Buffalo 1 for me. Pittsburgh does struggle defensively. Matt Murray is a very good goalie. But Pittsburgh 1 definitely in play for me. Buffalo 1 definitely in play for me. I need to take like a 3-day nap or something. I have no interest in Robin Lehner tonight. He just gets hung out to dry too much, and Buffalo gives up a ton of high danger scoring chances. I'd love to use Lehner. He's one of my favorite DFS goalies because I just like to burn money, but Ristolainen's still out. I know Beaulieu's back, but, their defense 5-on-5 and special teams is just atrocious. So I'm going to take a pass on Lehner tonight. So let's move on to the second game of the night. We have the Columbus Blue Jackets traveling to Montreal to face the Canadiens. Looks like Wenberg is going to be out. So your guess is as good as mine for the Blue Jackets lines. Torts won't even say anything. The beat writers are clueless. You can take your guess. Maybe Dubinsky. If I had to guess, it'd be Dubinsky, Panarin, Atkinson. But again, it's just a guess. And then, Doobie Jenner, Atkinson. Okay, I can see that too. But again, still a guess. You never know what Tort's going to do. He does like Dubinsky, Jenner, and Atkinson together, so that probably does make sense. Yeah, the rest is going to be a shit show. I'm probably avoiding Columbus from an offensive standpoint tonight anyway. They just, without solid lines, you just don't know. Like, Torts can mix it up, this and that. It's on a road. It's a road matchup. Charlie Lindgren's in play for me. With 16 teams playing, I just think there's no reason to go. I mean, if you really hawk Twitter and hope or daily face off, and you see the lines and there's a line that you want to use it, because they're going to be really low owned in GPPs tonight because all of the uncertainty about that. I do like Bob and Net tonight. He's one of my favorite plays. He's 7,500. Montreal generates a lot of shots on goal. They do have problems scoring. Bob is one of my favorite plays in net tonight. More so GPP than cash. But you can, for me, I would use him in any format. On the Montreal side, I'm not a huge fan of Montreal tonight. I do like Charlie Lindgren just because the Columbus lines are all fucked up. Canadiens also signed Anthony Niemi today. Fuck my life. Carey Price, is delaying his coming back from injury. His brain still hurts from sucking so bad, I guess. But, if Niemi actually gets a start in Montreal, I'll love that. The top line for Montreal are probably my favorite target, Danault and Pacioretty. Other than that, I don't really see any reason to go. The depth lines in Montreal tonight, you want to use the second line for value. I think there's better values to go than, Montoya's out too. Because Arturi Lekkonen's out, so Montreal 2 is going to be jumbled up. Montreal 3 is probably going to get jumbled up as well. But, if you want to use Galchenyuk, because he's cheap, okay. I mean, I'm not thrilled about it. I definitely, if I'm going to have Montreal exposure, I want it to be correlated with Pacioretty. Shea Weber on the blue line is an okay play for me. He's back under 6,000. That's decent value. Jeff Petrie, 3,400. If you really want to go to Punt City, if Joe Morrow's in the lineup at 2,900, I think you can go there. Definitely not in cash, more of a GPP punt play. He doesn't see too much time on the ice. So let's move on to the third game of the night. We have Dallas traveling to Florida to face the Panthers. Dallas is on a... Is Dallas on a back-to-back? Dallas is not on a... Yeah, they are on a back-to-back. They lost to... Oh, man, I am struggling. They lost to Carolina last night. The Teuvo Teravainen hat trick. So it's going to be... Yeah, they got roughed up, and now Carey letting him in. He's going to let him in tonight. Carey Lettinen's in goal for Dallas against Roberto Luongo. Let's go to Florida first. I always like the top line for Florida. I think they're one of the better plays of the night tonight. You're going to have to check with, sign up, get premium, check out 80's line matching RLC, which... Yeah, I wish I had Carolina 1 over Carolina 2 last night as well. You have to see which line the Barkov line matches up with Dallas, but I still like Florida 1 tonight, Barkov, Danilov. Huberdeau is a game-time decision, I believe, from what I saw this morning. I think he's in tonight, though. I believe he's in. So I do like that line tonight. I still believe it's Yandel who's on the power play with them, so you can go there at 4,200. If you're going to use, the Trocheck line, you can use Ekblad. I still prefer Yandel, but Florida 1 definitely in play for me. Vinny Trocheck is more of a one-off for me. I'm not huge on the depth of Florida tonight. You want to, single bullet Verbata if he's up on the second line again. Okay, I mean, my preferred play would be Florida 1 or, using Trocheck or some form of the power play. Roberto Luongo is in play in GPPs. I'd fade him in cash. Does scare me a little bit. But at his price, 7,200, I think you can make a case in GPPs, especially if you are using Florida for the correlation. Again, I'm not one of those guys who auto locks in the goalies from the teams you're stacking. Who to pair with Barkov and Cash? I'd go Daninoff just because of shot volume. He shoots a lot more than Huberdeau does. So you want those higher four plays in Cash. So we'll go and play in GPPs for me. On the Dallas side, I'm not overly interested in going Dallas. They're back-to-back on the road. I just don't like how their lines are. I wish, if you want to, power play, stack Seguin, Ben, and Radulov, okay. But, at even strength, I'd probably, mini Ben, Radulov, and Klingberg if I could fit it. No, I'd go Barkov over Radulov tonight. I think it's a better matchup for Florida than vice versa. You want to go Seguin, Janmark. Okay. Not overly thrilled with Dallas tonight. I think this is an opportunity to get him lower owned, but again, I don't like how the lines are spread out. I wish the top line stayed intact. I know Ken Hitchcock said he wants, more depth across the four lines, and I get it. Just not very good for DFS purposes. If you're going to use Dallas, I think, if you can fit in Klingberg, do it. Even if you're not using Dallas and you need a punt play, Essa Lindell at 3,700 is a solid value. There's some other defenders that I like who are a little bit cheaper tonight. Justin Schultz, some others we'll get to later, but Lindell is a solid value at 3,700. No interest in Kari Lehtinen. I don't think he's a good goalie. Has a big chance to give up a bunch of goals, and I'm all over Florida tonight, so I'm going to hard fade Kari Lehtinen. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Washington Capitals traveling to Nashville to face the Predators. It's going to be Braden Holtby for the Capitals, and more than likely Pekka Rinne for the Predators. It looks like Matt Niskanen is going to be back for the Capitals. It does bump up the Capitals' defense, which is horrifying to say because Niskanen is a glorified cone on the road. But let's get to Nashville first. Ben and Seguin have been split up for the past 3 games. They're together on the power play. I don't know about even strength. Even strength, it's Seguin, Janmark, and Shore, and then Ben and Radulov, and Gemel Smith. That's how it's been on even strength for the past few days. So one of the interesting. Should be all right. That's how they finished last night anyway. Yeah. I mean, they probably needed to generate. Yeah, I got brocked. He took me to Suplex City. So that doesn't really change too much for me. So it's definitely going to be the Barkov line against that line. Again, I don't really like targeting back-to-back on the road. But if they are together, I think this is a good spot to get them lower owned, especially with Winnipeg on the board, Edmonton, Florida, Philly, Pittsburgh, teams like that. I missed it, so there's obviously going to be other people who missed it, that they're together. Still not insanely high in them tonight. But here we go. Washington and Nashville. Line I wrote up in the Stacks article. The second line of Kyle Turris, Kevin Fiala, and Craig Smith. I really like that for value tonight. Kyle Turris is 5,700. He saw 21 minutes on the ice, which was way more. He saw way more 5-on-5 time than Ryan Johansson. Craig Smith had a goal and assist. He's still only 3,800. He also has some power play exposure. Kevin Fiala gets a bump up playing with Turris. He's 3,400. I really like Nashville too tonight against Washington as a value line. They're cheap. You can fit them in easily with any of the other lines. Let you do whatever you want. If you're going for two lines in the mid-range, I do like Nashville 1 as well. I'm not overly thrilled with Ryan Johansson. He is only 4,700, so that's really not going to tear you down in the GPP. Forsberg is 6,400. He's down in price. He was up over 7,000 last week. Victor Arvidsson's back under 6,000, so I think this is a fair price for Nashville 1 tonight. I really like to use them at home. For those of you who still like the narrative, it is Tuesday, Forsberg Tuesdays. Nashville 1's a little under 17,000 the full stack. You can fit them in with, a Buffalo. You can fit them in with, the Malkin line, teams like that, like the Minnesotas, stuff like that. But for me, I'm going elsewhere with my top line. So the second line for Nashville, Turris, Craig Smith, and Kevin Fiala is my go-to, especially if you're paying up for an Edmonton or a Winnipeg. But if you're going for, two mid-priced top stacks, I think Nashville 1 is definitely in play. If you can fit Yossi in at 6,200, I'd do that. PK Subban's only $900 less. You can go with him as well. I like Matthias Ekholm, who is paired with Yossi at even strength at 3,300. Sees a bunch of minutes on the ice, upwards of 20, 25. He hasn't been producing too much, but that can change. He is a very good player. So for 3,300, you can definitely take a punt flyer there. If it is Pecorino, I think, you can make a case for it in a GPP. I'd fade in cash. With 8 games, 16 goalies going, I put him right in the middle. Klingberg or Yossi. Depends how you build, really. I mean, in a vacuum, I probably go Yossi because Nashville's fresh. They're at home. They're in a good matchup. Washington has been. But then, as Adam points out, Florida Panther play has been absolutely butt cheeks. Klingberg does run the point on the power play. He has been playing very well lately. So, in a vacuum, I'd still use Yossi in cash. In GPPs, it really depends how you build. If you have any Dallas exposure, I'd go Klingberg. If you have any Nashville exposure, I'd go Yossi. If you're going as a one-off, they're both on the power play. Just as personal preference, I go Yossi. Again, this could be a bad bias for not targeting teams back-to-back on the road, but the case is there for both of them. My personal preference is Yossi. I have no issue if you go Klingberg. On the Washington side tonight, I'm not really sure I want too much exposure to Washington tonight. They're more middle of the road for me. I know Niskanen's coming back, and I'm not really sure what that does. I don't really like their even strength lines too much. I don't like that Devontae Smith-Pelly's with Ovechkin. Not a huge fan of Stevenson with Backstrom and Oshie. I know they have injuries, but, I'm just not a fan of their lines at even strength. If you want to, use an Ovechkin or use an Oshie, I think Oshie's a decent cash game play because of his price. He's only 5,600. He was in the mid-sixes not too long ago. But again, this isn't a great matchup for Nashville or for Washington. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure Holtby's going to get a little bit of ownership. He's 7,500. It's a decent price for him. He has been playing better. Niskanen bumps him up a little bit. You can make a case in the GPP. Obviously, he's one of the best goalies in the NHL. The price is good. I just don't know if I'm going to go there. I think he's more of a middle of the road play like Rene is. I think there's better options elsewhere, which we'll get to. So they're middle of the road for me. So let's move on to the fifth game of the night. We have the Philadelphia Flyers traveling to Minnesota to face the Wild. It's going to be Devin Dubnyk against Brian Elliott. Dubnyk is coming off back-to-back shutouts. One of them against the Flyers in Philly. Now it's going to be at home in Minnesota. The Koivu line is going to be matched up with the top line of Philadelphia. Not sure how I feel about using Philadelphia 1 tonight. I think it would be a contrarian play. But I don't know if you need to go there. They're $20,000 to full stack. They're the third most expensive line of the night. I just don't see the value there. They're getting Koivu. They're facing Dubnyk at home, who's coming off back-to-back shutouts. I don't know if it's a smart play to use Philadelphia 1 tonight. You can obviously make a case for them in GPPs. They are an explosive line. I just don't think you need to go there facing Koivu, facing Dubnyk. For me, where I want to go in this game is the second line for Minnesota. The Zucker line, who's been insane. They're going to be getting the Flyers 2, the second line of the Flyers, which is absolutely awful defensively. I think that's a good matchup for them. The Stahl, Zucker, Niederreiter. Is that what it is? Hold on. Let me load my handy-dandy notebook here. Yeah. Elliott is really cheap tonight. I am not a huge fan of Brian Elliott tonight. I know he's $7,300. There are some other goalies that are around that price that I like a little bit better. It could be a low-scoring game. It could be like a 2-1 show. I would reserve Elliott for GPP only. I wouldn't worry about ownership and cash. Cash and ownership and cash does not matter. You just play the best plays. So you never have to worry about being too chalky in cash. You just plug in who you think are the best plays. I prefer Dubnyk to Elliott tonight. I just think this is a better matchup for him. Back-to-back shutouts. If you read the Dobber hockey article about shots on goalies, I don't know who wrote that article, but Slim Cliffy, at Slim Cliffy, was talking about it. Devin Dubnyk faces, average shot distance for Minnesota is like 40 feet away, which is the longest for a goalie against in the NHL. It's a Dobber hockey article, which you can read about it. I'm sure you can find those stats on Natural Stat Trick or Corsica as well. But that was interesting to me. It was kind of how it was last year. Most of the Wild, weren't very good at suppressing shots, but the shots that they did give up were mostly from the outside and from far distance, which definitely pumps up the Dubnyk play for me. As they're not giving up a lot of, despite the injuries, they're not giving up a lot of high danger scoring chances recently. You can use I like the Koivu line as well, but I definitely prefer the Stahl, Zucker, Niederreiter line. Yes. AD with the knowledge to help me out because I've been a mess the past few days. So that's that. Let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Arizona Coyotes traveling to Chalkville, Canada, Winnipeg to face the Jets. It's going to be Connor Hellebuck against Antti Ranta. Hellebuck is the most expensive goalie on the board at 8,400, which is redonkulous. He is a cash game play, not a GPP play at all. I wrote up both Winnipeg lines today. I really like Winnipeg 1, especially at home. They're going to be chalky. You know, Winnipeg 2 might eat into that chalk a little bit, but those two lines are definitely going to be chalky. Scheifele, Wheeler, who's 7,800, which is crazy. He is the most expensive skater, I believe, on DraftKings. I don't know, McDavid has him by 100, but then it's Wheeler, Scheifele, both coming in at 7,800, which is super expensive. But, you know, yeah, Kyle Connor, 5,100. That's definitely a play in any format. Like I spoke about, or like I wrote about in the article, the second line I like as well. Ehlers and Laine particularly. I'm not a huge fan of Brian Little. He is only 4,500. He only has a goal and 2 assists in the past 12 games. He's better than that. You can go to the second line, but again, my preferred play is just loading up on the top line. If you can fit them with Bufflin, which is going to be extremely difficult, you can. I mean, it won't be too challenging if you use, you know, Nashville 2, someone like that. I also like, you know, Josh Morrissey at 3,400. He sees a ton of minutes on the ice. You know, Tyler Myers has the power play at 3,500. You know, also Trouba on the power play at 5,000. You can go there as well. Again, Connor Hellebuck, 8,400. Don't want him in GPPs. Yeah, that is true. You can use the Arizona top line as well and still have money left over. But Connor Hellebuck, 8,400. If you think he's the play, use him in cash. I don't want any exposure to him in GPPs just for the reason of it's way too expensive. Arizona has been struggling to get shots on goal. 1 goal on 20 shots is always a fear, especially for his price. He wouldn't hit value at all. He is safe for a win, but again, I want higher ceiling plays when it comes to GPPs. So Hellebuck is fine in cash. I'd probably avoid in GPPs. On the flip side of this game, I like Arizona 1. I prefer to use them when they're at home. I don't know what they're doing. If Domi's on the top line, if it's Perlini, if it's Domi, if it's Perlini, they keep flip-flopping back and forth. But again, Clayton Keller is my boy. I like him. You know, Winnipeg penalty kill is atrocious, especially at home. I definitely think you can use the top line of Arizona tonight. They're cheap, let you get in some other expensive assets. Oliver Ekman-Larsson at 4,300, it's too cheap. He's better than that. I know he hasn't been great, but for that price, it's so hard to pass up. Jason Demers, same thing, 3,300, super cheap. That's really about the defenseman I like there. If it is Domi, you know, Domi's only 3,800 on the top line, super cheap. Perlini's 3,400. You know, Keller is 6,000, but my former Ranger boy, Derek Stefan, however you want to pronounce it, depends. He's only 4,400, so that line's super cheap. They correlate on the power play. If it's Domi, definitely can go there because Winnipeg's penalty kill is just... Antti Ranta at 6,900 is interesting for me. I like Antti Ranta. I don't know if he's, you know, going to hold up over, you know, starting 50, 55 games over a full season. But in certain aspects, you know, he has the ability to have a shutdown game. I don't know if this is the spot to do it. GPP is interesting to me just because he's under 7,000. He's super cheap. I think you can take a GPP flyer there. You get him at what, like 2.3%, something like that. I wouldn't say it's a winnable game, but if the Coyotes do win, he's going to hit value, even if it is a 4-3 game, 5-4 game, something like that. If he gets you 4 or 5 DK points, I think, that's really solid. I wouldn't count on him winning, but you're going to get him really low owned. He's really cheap. Him and Anders Nielsen are interesting plays for me. I probably go, Nielsen more than I go Ranta, but both you can have a little exposure to in GPPs. If you're making multiple lineups, I think it is a nice play to leverage the field. So let's move on to the later games. We have the Vegas Golden Knights traveling to Edmonton to face the Oilers. Vegas is not good on the road. Good times. Vegas is not good on the road. They're really good at home. It's going to be Cam Talbot against probably Maxime Lagacé. Ask your sister, buddy. And I really like the top line for Edmonton tonight. I know they're super expensive. They're $100 less than Winnipeg won on DraftKings. Pat Maroon's been struggling. You can leave him off when stacking. I think you can easily go McDavid, Draisaitl, Clefbaum. McDavid and Draisaitl over Malkin and Phil. In what, cash? Cash, I'm going Malkin and Kessel for days. GPP preference, really. I like both matchups. This is interesting because I think when looking at the similar salary with Winnipeg, I think most people are going to build with Winnipeg. So this is a chance to get Edmonton low owned, or lower owned. I think this is a good spot for them. I still like the Pittsburgh 2 matchup better. Yeah. Clefbaum is cheaper, though. I think Clefbaum is more of a GPP play than a cash game play. I definitely go Klingberg or Yossi over him in cash. If Edmonton, if you know Edmonton's going to be a little bit lower owned, you definitely can uncork the top line there. Yeah, that second line is looking nice. Nuge and Puljuvari. You definitely, for value, secondary line's sake, I think you can go there as well. They're cheap. They're a little bit more expensive than, say, like a Nashville 2. Definitely can go there. I like that line. Not a huge Lucic guy. I actually don't like Lucic at all. But he's only 4,800. I think you can use the second line for sure. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins at 5,600 is decent value for him. I just wish he shot the puck more. But if you're going, I don't mind that play at all. He's $100 less than Turris. They're, either are good. I think Talbot's going to be a bit chalky tonight because I think the secret out's that Vegas is terrible on the road. He's only 7,400 on DraftKings. That is super cheap. I think the value is there. I'd use them in GPPs. You can make a case in cash. I'd probably avoid them in cash, but I wouldn't blame you if you went there as well. On the Vegas side, I think I would prefer the Carlson, Marchessault, Riley Smith line to the Neal line. I just think it's a little bit better matchup for them. Riley Smith, 4,200, still too cheap. I think, Vegas can get on the board, and I like this line a little bit better than the Neal line. I'm not high on either line tonight, though. Neal at 6,100 is a little expensive for me, but again, I don't know. Vegas has been really good at home, but on the road they're bad. They might win like 8 to 10 games on the road and still contend for a playoff spot if they continue the way they play at home. They just roll teams at home. And now Marc-Andre Fleury's close to coming back. They're a decent team. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. That might have been the hottest of hot takes, but I think they'll be competitive at home. Yeah. But no interest in Legacy, in cash, in GPPs. I don't know. I prefer to go Ronta or Nielsen for 6,900 before I go to Legacy at 7,100. If you are, using Vegas 2 or Vegas 1, I think you can have a Legacy lineup. I don't know if I'd do it. You'd be a stronger person than I am, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to go there. But yeah, so let's move on to the last game of the night. We have the Vancouver Canucks traveling to LA to face the Kings. Who's going to be the shittiest goalie of the night? Leonard or Legacy would be my guess. So this game is the 10:30 starts, an hour and a half. Yeah, I don't mind that. Jones, Werenski stack, and GPPs. I kind of like doing that. I'm not going to dog Dustin Brown tonight. This is what I'm going to say about this game. I think the Horvat line is going to be higher on than they should. I think the Kempe line is going to be higher on than they should. The problem is it's a late hammer start, so I don't blame you if you go to LA Kings too. I kind of like them. Kempe, Toffoli, Pearson. The thing is, I like Nielsen in this game. So I don't know how much Kings exposure I'm going to have. I'd use Nielsen before I use LA2, which is kind of shocking coming out of my mouth because I love using the Kings. But I just think, LA2, the second line for the Kings is going to be higher owned than it really should. They don't see as much ice time as they should 5-on-5. If Markstrom was starting, I'd lock in LA King too. Just because Markstrom's been so much better at home. He hasn't been very good on the road. I like Nielsen better on the road. I think this is a decent spot for him considering the Kings are going to have ownership. You can use the top line. I have a slight lean to the second line just because I think as a unit they're better. Kopitar is their best player, obviously. But if you are going to use Kopitar, Brown, Iafallo, I'd use Drew Doughty. If you're going to use the second line for the Kings, I'd use Muzzin or Martinez. If you're going to fade him because of ownership, I wouldn't. But you can definitely make a case for Kopitar and cash. You can always make a case for Kopitar and cash this year. He's playing so much better than he was last year. I think LA, the top line for the Kings is going to be lower owned than the second line, to be honest with you. I think he can. Edler is my value defender of the night. Iafallo doesn't shoot. I like Edler at 3,200 on DraftKings. I think you can use him in any format. I'm not a huge fan of Vancouver's top line. Yeah, they're cheap and they're going to have more ownership than they should, and I don't want to go there in GPPs just because this is a tough matchup. I think the Sedins are what they are. The coach told them that they're going to take a reduced role and let the kids play. This isn't a great matchup for the Horvat line. They're going to get Kopitar. I don't like stacking against Kopitar. Quick is quick. I still think he's an overrated regular season goalie. You know what his pedigree in the playoffs. I just don't think he's a great goalie, but this is a good spot for him. People are just going to be like, Vancouver won 13,000, the full stack. I'm going to put them in with Winnipeg. I'm going to put them in with Edmonton. They're going to be higher than they should. This is a tough matchup going against Kopitar. I'm going to fade in GPPs. I'm probably just going to fade in every format, actually. And then, quick at 8,200. Again, more of a cash game play than a GPP play. I hate spending over 8,000 for goalies and GPPs. It's just not something I like doing. It's just the way I play. If you want to spend up for them, I won't argue with you. It's a dynamic pricing matchup, so the higher the goalie is in price, the better the matchup. So this is a good matchup, obviously, for him. But again, more cash than GPP for me. So that wraps up the 8-game slate. Any questions, concerns? I will answer them. Favorite value D and forward for cash. Think Alex Edler, 3,200 for Vancouver. Favorite forward, value forward. Let me see. I'm not sure which Pittsburgh team is going to show. No. Kopitar is going to see the Horvat line for sure. I'd probably use Ekholm over Edler and cash. Favorite value forward. So let me get there. Hold on. Probably, I like Sam Reinhart, which is crazy. I like these quoted. Malkin is getting the depth of Buffalo. So, I mean, Crosby's always in play because he's Crosby. He's definitely top 3 player in the NHL. But from a matchup standpoint, the play for Pittsburgh is Malkin. I don't like this is the thing with the Sedins. They're super cheap. They're not going to get Kopitar. They're going to get, a depth line, but they don't see enough time on ice for me. I think, with the reduced role and Henrik Sedin never shooting the puck, I don't think they're in play. Favorite top goalie play in GPP. I like Bob. I like I think you can go Crosby Malkin. That's a way to stack Penguins. Sometimes I like to do that. Favorite cash goalie. I think Quick is in play in cash. Lindgren, Bob, like around there. You want to go Hellebuck, you can. I think Dubnik's in play for sure. I like Dubnik in GPPs too. Someone asked me that. Anderson for value play. Yeah, I don't like that. Dubnik or Talbot. I go Dubnik. Yeah, I think you can go to Talbot and cash. It's not somewhere that I'm going, but you definitely can make a case for Talbot and cash tonight. I don't mind that at all. Yes, Lindgren is good for GPPs. Do you like who? LA Kings too. Yeah. I touched on Spurgeon's in play. I would assume Barkov is getting Dallas one. It's in Florida. So I touched on LA King 2 earlier. I think they're definitely in play. The thing that worries me is they're going to have a little bit more ownership than they should, just based on matchup. I think you definitely can go there. It's a nice late hammer. I just think I'm going to go somewhere else. It's probably going to burn me because I love using Kings, but I have no issue with LA King 2 at all. I think they're a good play. Come on. Find one that's playing. Buffalo 1 and GPPs, yes. Especially with Reinhardt at 3,700. I really like Reinhardt when he plays with Eichel. I think, that's in play for sure. Pittsburgh sucks defensively, even though Matt Murray is very good. Favorite value defenseman, Matthias Ekholm, Justin Schultz, Alex Edler, Josh Morrissey. I think those are 4 under 3,500. You're welcome. Lock goalie tonight. Oh, man. That's always the most brutal question because it just can blow up in your face so easily. I think you're welcome. I think my top goalie plays tonight. Yeah, I don't think there's a lock or a must-have. How many points from Nashville, too? I don't know. But they should get on the board. Yeah, I like Arizona. I like Arizona, too. I think my top goalie plays would be salary, like with salary in mind. I think Dubnyk, Bob, even, Quick at 8,200. Yes, Dadonov definitely good in cash on FanDuel at 5,400. That's a very good price for Daddy-O. He's my favorite cash play on Florida 1. He just shoots the puck. Yeah, Quick is really expensive on FanDuel. That's the issue. He's very expensive on DraftKings too. I'm going heavy on Nashville too as well. I think that's the problem, Forsberg revenge game. Yeah, he had a cup of tea with the Capitals. He got traded for Martina Rat, one of the worst trades in the history of life. Yeah, if Helly is cheap on FanDuel, that's the play there for cash for sure. I go Hellebuck or Dubnyk in cash on FanDuel, I think. All right, so that will wrap it up for this awesome Tuesday edition of the Daily Fantasy Show. Again, you can find me on Twitter, JRH002DFS. If you have any questions that I did not get to, feel free to, mention me on Twitter. I'm always around. I should be able to answer them. Make sure you sign up for premium. We got, 80s line matching article, the projections, the optimizers, the chat. It's a really good deal for as low as $9.99 a week. Check it out. It definitely will pump up your game along with the show that we do. Try to get as much information as you can to make the best decisions possible. I'm just one voice. You always want to, get as much info as you can and evaluate that. So good luck, everybody, tonight. We will see you tomorrow. Good luck. Win money. Tell me about it. Rock out. Peace.